of what is your purpose. And I say that for the simple fact that you wake up at night, right? Who here has woken up in the middle of the night looking for water, like you're thirsty? Our body literally is cultivated and earns for water. Our natural instinct is to seek water. We wake up thirsty, seeking water. We already know that it's there because we live in a state of abundance subconsciously. The only reason why you're not living in a state of abundance is because of what you were taught within the world. And that's where I really want to start with is you can never be off course. Every single thing that's put in front of you is meant for you to overcome and bring you further within your path and your spiritual purpose. A lot of people want to label things, right? We want to label something, and like, for instance, even the term shadow work. Some people may see the word shadow work as a negative connotation when the reality is just uncovering your truest self, right? And seeing where those deep, dark parts of yourself, where we feel like we're off course, we think, God or source, show me what it is that I need. Show me where I need to go, what I need to uncover. And what we forget is that God has already shown us, right? Everything that we need is right in front of our face to the point where we're familiar with it. I know a lot of you here may have heard of law of familiarity, right? When it comes to law of familiarity, it really comes to the blessings that God has in front of you as well, because these are blessings that we've gotten since we were children and we brushed off. And we brushed it off because the world has evolved our mind to think and do so, right? So source is going to show you everything you need right in front of your face, and it begins with the shadow work. Why? Because there's sometimes things that are overbearing on top of us that is covering our vision, right? When you start to see yourself with eyes of love, that creates a new lens for the rest of the world. I had to realize that when I really did not, I love what Josh said, right? When he kept getting into these toxic relationships, he had the realization that, damn, I'm the one that's attracting these people. Everyone in front of you is a reflection of you. And good and bad, right? They're a reflection of who you are, who you used to be, or who you can potentially become. So I know a lot of you guys are familiar with Alex Morton, right? And when we think of Alex Morton, I want you guys to really think of the different greats within your life that you've attracted, even if it's from a far standpoint that you've brought in your awareness to, right? And understand that that person has energy that you attracted within your life. The only difference between you and that person is that you did or did not accept that energy, that mindset, right? What's different from Alex Morton? What's different from me? What's different from Josh, from all these other people? We're either a past, present, or future version of you. But what type of energy are you willing to accept within this moment? And that's dependent on your self love. It's dependent on how you view yourself as an individual, on how you view what you're worthy of. Okay. Because I can guarantee you a lot of the people that I was actually in a toxic relationship as well for 4 years. And one of the things that I want you guys to understand is that's the only thing that I accepted as a form of love. From my point of awareness, that was the only thing that I accepted as a reflection of myself. Not necessarily that I wasn't that person as well, but I was in such a scarcity mindset. I was so low that when I attracted people that were not good for me, I accepted them because I thought that's who I was. Right. And I'm going to say that again. I accepted other people because that's who I thought I was, from a place of insecurity, from a place of brokenness. That's who I genuinely thought I was. And that's why shadow work really stems down to the fact of how well do you know yourself? Because if you do not know yourself, how do you expect to love yourself? Okay. We talk about shadow work and bringing this attention to the dark aspects of ourselves, but those dark aspects of yourself is what's curating your biggest hopes and dreams and goals. I'm telling you right now, you don't know your plan. You can never be off course. You think you're off course, and God's like, oh, I'm so glad she fucked up this bad because this is what's going to give her the breakthrough that's going to bring her to the next level. And if only she knew, she's going to figure it out maybe in a year. And he's like, he can in the back, and literally seeing the fact that, wow, like, where our biggest mistakes is what's cultivating that. And something that I had to understand as well is not only can I not get off path, but on the other hand is that these aspects of myself that I wanted to get rid of so bad, I had to love it on the way out. Okay. You have to love the darkest parts of yourself on the way out. I have empathy for the woman that I was, or the girl, I would say, right? The girl that I was, um, when I was suicidal, when I was in that dark place. You know, I had to have empathy and love that girl. Why? Because that girl would have never thought that I'd be where I am, right? These are things that the darkest parts of yourself, we want to kick them out. But by you sitting there and thinking that, oh, I want to kick this out, this is like, oh, this is a old me, and you giving that negative connotation to it, you're giving resistance to a part of yourself that was perfect for the time period it was in. Okay. I'm going to repeat that. Those negative, those dark parts of yourself was perfect for the time period that you were in. But understand that darkness is not you. Those things you don't like about yourself, oh, I feel like I'm annoying. I feel like maybe like I talk too much, or maybe I'm this, I'm that, da da da. These things that we feel and these labels we put on ourselves, that's not our truest form. And it comes down to not only knowing yourself, but knowing your creator, right? Knowing source. And when I say knowing source, I don't mean just seeing like, oh, yeah, I know God. There's a difference between knowledge and understanding the Bible, the Quran, all these different texts. There's a difference between knowledge and the wisdom, right? The wisdom of the relationship that you've built with source, whatever it is that you believe in. And that wisdom is only curated by knowing yourself, because you can only see God to the capacity that you see yourself. How can you think that a God or a source would be so great to create the biggest things and then view yourself so negatively? Of course, you will not think that those great gifts, those great things within your life will be able to be a vessel and flow through you. You won't believe that. Of course not, because you don't believe it within yourself that God, it's almost like you're disrespecting God. Like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, da 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 da. Yeah, but God is great. Okay, but if God is great and you believe that, why would you disrespect his greatest creation, yourself? We start to view the darkest parts of ourselves with such negative connotation when we're evolving. We need to love ourselves just as we would love a dog, right? Or a cat. When you purchase, and I'm going to explain it, right? I actually got this from the book, The Mastery of Love. Um, and if you guys are familiar with the Four Agreements, it's a part within that, right? And I read this book not for relationship love, but I read the book for the awareness of how to love myself, right? Because within the book it explains that when you purchase a dog, what do you expect a dog to do? You expect a dog to use the bathroom outside. He needs food. He's gonna bark. Dogs bark. If you didn't know that, dogs bark, right? They scratch, they shed. These are things that we're aware of. So when you purchase a dog, these are the things that you should be expecting and you should be accepting, right? Because who are you to tell a dog not to bark? That's who the dog is, right? Like that's literally what a dog does. How are you going to expect that the dog uses a litter box when the dog is not a dog, the dog is a cat? Or when the dog is a dog, not a cat, right? So we have to have that sense of awareness, and how we love ourselves as well is accepting ourselves on how we truly are. If we're aware that we love to sing, why are we going to withhold singing? We're not loving ourselves and just allowing ourselves to just be, because these are things that are cultivated with how we naturally are. And it's the same way you love another person. And the reason why I go and I transition, and maybe it doesn't make as much sense as loving an animal as if you would love yourself, but let's transition it into how you would love another person, right? Because if we're all on the same page that any person that's in front of you is a reflection of yourself, then this means by loving the dark aspects and the shadows of another person, you're therefore loving yourself, right? As you begin to heal, you give others the permission to heal as well. You're you're cultivating the energy that curates the collective. You accepting yourself begins acceptance of the people in front of you. You love other individuals as if they were that dog, right? As if they were that cat, with expectations that they will follow through on who they've presented themselves to be. But you have to be connected, not attached to who they are. Why? Because if you're attached to them, or you're attached to a certain aspect about them, understand you have that same attachment within yourself. And an attachment is withholding something, right? You don't want to withhold something, you want to experience it. Just as you experience people, you don't want to attach yourself to people and expect these expectations on people and all these things. No, you want to just experience them. Um, and love them like an animal, right? And the reason being is because as this person's making mistakes and they're growing, if you don't allow other people to make mistakes in front of you, guess what? That's a reflection of you. The shadow work and the true way that you uncover your deepest self is by allowing yourself to see that your deepest self is within other people, because they're all reflecting to you, right? And understand that you need to forgive yourself and others for what they did in survival mode. Okay. Shadow work is understanding that sometimes we were really fighting to live. We were fighting to be happy. We were fighting to be aware, you know? I was in a place with my depression and anxiety that I started losing my memory. And I don't mean by weeks at a time. I mean days, right? Like the whole day, I don't even remember what happened. I would get to the end of the day and I wouldn't tell anybody along my journey because I thought I was dying. Like I laughed, but I'm so serious. I genuinely thought I was dying. I didn't have the memory of the day. And I had to understand that then I didn't understand it. Now with my awareness, right? I love that Josh brought up Joe Dispenza. That's actually some of the photos that he was showing in the presentation is from Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I'm actually reading this right here, right? And I've studied Joe Dispenza in terms of videos and other works of his and stuff. And he explains just that our survival instincts will start to shut off other things. I didn't have the willpower for memory because my only willpower was being directed toward waking up and surviving. My energy was depleting, right? But I forgive myself now because I know that I was in survival mode. I was. Despite anyone else seeing that, right? Um, so you guys have it here. And like I'm gonna repeat the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And when we're in survival mode, we're gonna do things that we don't recognize about ourselves, right? Think of an animal, right? Joe Dispenza talks about animals. He puts the analogy so perfect. Imagine yourself running from a dinosaur. You're running from a dinosaur. Are you going to sit there and think like, oh, let me be nice to the person that's walking. Let me wave hello. No, you're going to be sprinting. You're not going to be looking any way. You're going to just be running to survive and make sure that you're good. That's what I was doing, to the point where I wasn't even remembering what was on the sides of me, nothing, my peripherals, none of that. I was just, my goal was survive. Okay. And we as humans, we cultivate and we become those same things and we're so unaware of it. Right. So bringing light to the dark aspects of yourself is understanding that you may, in this very moment, be in survival mode, but that's okay because you're fucking surviving. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse on this, but but you're surviving. Like you're lit. We're here. Like we're up. Like come on, you see this? Like we're good. And that's what's understanding as well is like you were in survival mode in a sense, and you're not gonna heal in 6 months, in a year. I thought I was so evolved, I'm like, wow, like this is why I have anxiety. This is why I shake. I used to shake a lot, right? And it's like, oh, this is why I shake. Man, now that I figured this out, it's over for you guys, and I'm like, it's so over. Like I got it. I'm locked in. And I had the realization that that was my ego. Your ego is going to tell you that you're healed and you're good. But I want you guys to understand it's a lifelong journey, but lifelong journey of uncovering and of healing different parts of yourself, because you're then going to be starting to see the purity within yourself. The resistance you may feel about healing now is something that will start to leave as you let go. And understand there's nothing good or bad. It just is. It just is. Because the way we interact with one another can be beneficial or negative, but in the greater scheme of things, it was exactly the way it needed to be. And we always need to see things from the end in mind. But making sure that you do that within yourself, okay? There's things, let's go ahead and see what the chat was saying. Yeah, there is so much to peel back, the acceptance. And I'm going to speak from my personal experience as well. I had a very character building year, right? Very character building year. And my life has entirely evolved from the person I was and the person I am now. I actually had hair that was like all the way to my hips, right? And like, your girl's almost bald. But what's happened really is just the shedding and letting things go. Really, I had to understand that there's certain parts of myself, not even in terms of hair, but I want to go to the symbolism of things, right? The symbolism of how I let go different aspects of myself, different chapters within myself. And that was associated with my self image, how I viewed myself. And if you think that these parts of yourself that you hate, and I'm gonna say the word, I don't say that word, but those parts of yourself that you truly hate, you need to understand that that is what's going to take you to the next level. Those parts of yourself that you hate, when you become friends with your demons, you understand that they're misunderstood as well. Okay? The dark parts of yourself, that's not you. It's an energy that's been cultivated around you. And we as humans, by accident, we start to hate. Let's say we hate these certain aspects of ourselves, and it creates an addiction of adrenaline, right? You create an addiction to these bondages of the dark parts of yourself. Now, I want to be honest with you. Who are you if it wasn't for your depression? Who are you if it wasn't for your anxiety? And I say that, and I'm going to explain exactly what I mean when I say that. When I was anxious and I was depressed, I felt like I was nobody but anxiety and depression. That was me. I didn't see it as like, oh, this is a part of me. I felt like that was me. And that's what I want you guys to understand is those dark, those negative parts of yourself. It's not you. It's something that's alongside of you that you've brought into your reality. And it may have not been you. I don't want you to blame yourself either. It may have not been you, but it's something that you were gifted as an opportunity to heal. Understand my perspective and understand my programming. You guys are literally hearing my programming of what I had to cultivate and understand through meditation, through shadow work, through uncovering myself, right? Is that I got the opportunity with my anxiety and depression to cultivate an energy of healing that I can therefore transmute and give to you guys in this moment, give to other people, give to the world, give to my family. Right? Breaking generational curses. We want to do it in the big aspects. Everybody's focused on the big things and we don't even mean to. It's like, oh, the little things, like, like use a blue pen. Use a blue pen. No, it ain't not about the blue pen. It ain't about the millions. At the end of the day, what it really, really is about is the small aspects within yourself that you've really been ignoring. Right? It's really the small aspects that you need to cultivate, as in understanding that you love yourself, understanding that your whole family may be in a negative mindset and you're the one person that's going to change it all. Your shadow work even begins, and this is an exercise that I really do recommend with everybody. And I know that we're potentially doing a Q&A as well. But this is an exercise that I want to leave you guys with that changed everything for me. Okay. And it's a huge aspect of shadow work, which is writing down the things that you've gone through, but analyzing it from a third person perspective. So what do I mean by that? And be very transparent of some of the things that I've gone through, right? Okay, I'm gonna write it out, right? In essence, if I were to see it in a textbook at school, Hispanic female, mixed, grew up without a father, right? Grew up with a stepfather, grew up in an emotionally abusive environment, physically abused occasionally, right? Let's think. Only child for some time. Third generation within America, first generation college student, grew up in the low-key hood, right? These are all things that I'm writing out. Grew up in the low-key hood, okay. Now I want you guys to write in the chat box, and I'm not going to be offended by no means, just this is for a point of awareness, and this is going to help me as well. What do you feel with the things that I've listed? If you're not seeing me at all, you don't know Yalicia, you don't know the Godmother, nothing about me, you read these things, what do you think that this girl would be struggling with in this moment? Or without have done shadow work, what do you feel like she would struggle with? One of the things I would say, anxiety, right? Because you're growing up around somebody. Oh, fear, low self-esteem, okay. Enemy attacks, okay. Belief system, depression, neglect, okay. Struggling with self-image, depression, okay. Yeah. And now, so here's the thing, is when you write things from a third person perspective, you can't see it with a sense of ego, right? Someone said sex. I don't know necessarily what you meant by that, but yeah, low confidence, anxiety,
struggling with
self-image,
promiscuous, struggling with being promiscuous, if I can say the word.
Yeah, you see, and that makes sense. These are all things that are potentially that person from what was written, right? All potentially that person. Now, so I had to write things like that and I had to self-analyze myself. That's what brought me to self-actualization. My depression, my anxiety, right? The things that I went through as a child, all these things in my life allowed me to have self-actualization early on. And I wrote these things. Okay, what would this girl have struggled with? Okay. And if it was anyone, it doesn't matter if it's Jalicia, anywhere, Pepe, Obama, if anybody went through the things that I went through, right? And I didn't go super in depth either, only you will know what you've truly gone through. Okay. And even then, only I know what I've truly gone through, right? That, and I don't, you also don't need to express all the details of it to anyone in front of you because they're not going to understand. Why? Because they were not meant to. You are put on your purpose to cultivate and understand. It's called self actualization, self discipline. Yet when we're born, everyone else is trying to discipline us. No, these are things that you need to cultivate from yourself. Self discipline, self actualization. You need to write these things down. And I don't care who you think you are. You potentially struggle with a lot of the things that you're writing down, right? For instance, for the things that you guys written down and from a place of authenticity, right? Anxiety and depression. I've had that belief system. My belief system was pretty fucked up. Fear. I had a lot of fear. I couldn't go out in public by myself. Like I couldn't shop by myself. I couldn't, I could not. My mom would be like, oh, can you go get the socks for me? No. And it would create an argument. It would literally create an argument. My mom would be like, what's wrong with you? Like, you can't just get the socks. And I'd be like, no, I'm not doing it. Why am I going to do that? I'm your slave. And these are things that I just used to go ahead and change the fact that I couldn't be by myself. Right? I became very defensive. That's one of the things I had to realize. Any person would be defensive. I want to like not fight everybody, but it was always going to be an argument, right? Neglect, right? These are all different things. Low self-esteem, all this stuff, in different ways, right? And we start to understand it. You got to write yourself from third person perspective. That's what's going to help you because that's the only way that you're going to do it without ego, without sitting and fighting yourself. Because it's not because it's you or anyone else. Again, I'm going to repeat it. It's because anyone that would have gone through those things, that's how it would have been for them. What do I think about ego? I think that, matter of fact, I think it would be the perfect time to transition into the Q&A. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Gas. This was
All
fire.
right, dope. So thank you. So the first question is, what do I think about the ego? I think that our ego is cultivated and made to help us survive, right? Sometimes people view ego again as the enemy. Your ego's your friend. Everybody has an ego. Why? Because that's what you use to survive. Okay. But understand that it's a balance because your ego is going to help you survive, but you need to understand where you're doing things from a place of scarcity or abundance. When I had questions for people, when I got angry at people, when I had like conversations, all these things, I had to ask myself, is this coming from a place of scarcity or abundance? This person wants to reconcile a friendship that we both were heartbroken from, right? Is this coming from a place of scarcity because I feel like I have no friends and I need a friend and oh my gosh, like I miss them and oh, what we used to be? Or a place of abundance, as in, wow, I've grown. I understand that I'm in a good place. And by rekindling this friendship, I know that I'll be able to place positive boundaries, right? Your ego is associated with scarcity, right? Your ego and that scarcity is the ego is gonna tell you, like, oh no, I need a friend. Like, no, let me just forgive them and forgive them. Like, that's fine, it's whatever. But your ego is gonna put you in a place where you will operate in survival mode. Does that make sense? So your ego not only necessarily is gonna protect you where you think you're protecting yourself, but your ego is gonna cause you to bring in the reflection and the experiences to keep you in survival mode, right? So that's what I think of the ego. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think that you need to be friends with it just like you would be friends with your demons in a sense, because nothing is negative or positive, it just is, right? um and that's how you have to view it in terms of like in terms of what is that you go through. Let me clarify, what is what you go through. Of course there's positive and there's negative words, but nothing's good or bad when it comes to your experiences that you're actually in, because they just are. um Okay, questions. How can you be aware of the lessons life wants to show you? Some of the practice that I go through in order to be aware of the things that I like, what life is supposed to teach me is understand that use your intuition. What is your intuition? You are in tuition with life. Okay. So what does that mean? You are being taught by life. Every experience you have is a lesson. It is. You have to see where you're what are you accepting? What I did to really understand myself is I meditate. Meditation is something that is going to cause you to understand not only yourself but your creator. And you're going to see that when you create and cultivate a great energy and it's like on cloud 9 and it's disrupted, you're going to be like, "Hold up. Something feels different. Okay, what is causing me to feel different in this moment?" Well, I talked to Fulana. Let me ask if Fulana's okay. One, maybe Fulana has bad vibes. No cap. But maybe Fulana is going through something, she's depressed, and you felt her energy. It happens. So now these are different things that when you start to meditate, you start to spend time with yourself. You need to spend time with yourself. If I read my journal to you, it's literally like, "What's up, man? How you doing? Today's been lit. Oh my gosh, like you went through this, but you're a champ." I'm talking to myself like if I'm dapping up my homeboy, like, "What's good? Hey, oh, that's what's up. Word. Oh, cool, cool, cool. Okay." Like I'm literally talking to myself, building an entire relationship with myself. And I'm also the person to be like, "What's good with you? Did you really do that right now? You're tripping." You need to understand that you need to love yourself more. Because if you don't love yourself, then who will? Right? I'm talking to myself in all aspects. I'm becoming the parent I never had. I'm being the dad I've never had. Understand that you have the full capacity within yourself to be everything that is that you seek. So, um, let's see. Yeah. So, in terms of life, the life lessons that God wants to show you is think about what you. This is a perfect journal entry for shadow work. Is what recently has happened to me that broke my heart, and I don't mean just in relationships. It could be like, damn, mom went to McDonald's, she got everybody food, and she didn't get me food. Like, why wouldn't you get me food? That could be something so simple. But if we see it in the symbolism, it's I feel like I need validation. I feel like you didn't give me any validation for my worth there. And people will sit there and be like, "Oh, it's not that deep." Nah, but it's that deep. It really is because it is on a subconscious level. Because the things that you need to heal aren't most of the things that you get affected by and upset by now as an adult is not something that it happened right now and oh, you don't like it. Like let's say I got pinched right now. Most of the time when people this is just an analogy, right? If I get pinched right now and it doesn't I know it doesn't hurt on a physical level, but I'm like, "Ow, like what's wrong with you?" Chances are is because when I was a kid, I got pinched so often. It has nothing to do with what just happened in the scenario. It's because of way back when I got pinched and I was a kid and that shit had traumatized me, right? So now I don't like people pinching me. And this is something that you got to look at too. So what in your life are you reacting to now that if like for instance, yeah, like a pinch that definitely makes sense. What are you reacting to now that you know in the back of your head you're like, why would I react like that? It wasn't even that serious. That's because you need to step inside within yourself and understand that it's your child self that's hurt. It's your emotional body that's hurt, right? Your emotional body is causing this reaction. That's how you'll be aware of the lessons that life wants to teach you because life is always showing you. You just need to accept it. And if you don't feel good, if you have depression, you have anxiety, these are things that it's created from resistance. What are you resisting? What lesson has been God teaching you, right? Any sources that I recommend for journaling prompts. Ask yourself questions. For instance, what's been my greatest heartbreak? Um, what's something that I wish that my mom could have been done different? What's something that I wish my dad could have done different? Not for a place of blame, but for a place of understanding because they're human. And sometimes we're born here and it's like we've been here before, right? Not everybody will resonate with that, but it's like we've been here before and you got to understand that some people it's their first rodeo. It's their first time on earth, you feel me? And you'll see like you got them old souls and you got some people that they just need some guidance. What do I wish I could heal in my mom? What do I wish I could heal my dad or my grandma? Guess what? You probably got to heal that in yourself. These are different things, and just think about how you experience other people as well. Um, why did it hurt me so much when my friend didn't invite me to their birthday? Like it's something that seems like it doesn't matter, but why did it matter so much to you, right? Any tips on how to distance yourself from people without feeling guilty because you're working on yourself? Hmm. How long do you want to keep suffering? And I say that because that's exactly the energy and how it was when I had to talk to myself. How long did I want to keep suffering for? Because they might be in your life. You are attached to them as people because you're attached to the energy that brought them to life, if that makes sense, within your reality. So you know you want to grow and you feel like you may potentially grow away from them. Because if they were growing, they would be growing alongside of you, right? So you have to ask yourself why are you attached to yourself? I'm gonna give you guys this. This is something that's definitely changed my perspective. Um, Kevin Trudeau speaks on it, and I'm scrolling. Let me see if I could go down. Okay, there's okay. Let me go back up. Kevin Trudeau speaks on this, right? And this changed my perspective on life, right? On my Instagram, if you go on my Instagram, I have something about the monkey analogy. This is something similar from when Kevin Trudeau speaks on it. And I'll give Josh the information if you guys want it as well, so you guys can find the Kevin Trudeau video. And he explains that during the Holocaust, right? I know a lot of us are familiar with like the Holocaust and everything. During the Holocaust, a lot of the Jews were aware of what was, or not a lot of them. Sorry, let me take this with a grain of salt because I may not articulate my words perfectly. And I don't mean it in a sense of offense or anything. I'm saying this from a genuine point to help you guys with perspective. So if something doesn't come out exactly how I intend it to be, forgive me for that. But let me explain it on the best way I can articulate my words in terms of how he explained it, right? Many Jewish people during that time had the money to leave where it is that they were in Germany. They had the money to leave and go to America, to go to places where they feel like they could be safer. And because there was still talk about the fact that this was happening, right? That Hitler was taking people, that he was killing people. And a lot of the Jewish people had the money to leave. Why do you feel like they didn't, guys? Why do you feel like they didn't? If anybody wants to uncover their mic or drop in the chat box, why do you feel like they may have not?
They didn't want to be uncomfortable.
Okay, they didn't want to be uncomfortable. What Kevin Trudeau explains is, yes, fear. And the thing is, if they were to go to America, they would have to leave everything behind. Everything. They had to leave their clothes, they had to leave their rings, they had to leave their shoes, they had to leave everything behind. Everything. So because of their attachment to the physical items, they lost their lives. A lot of them lost their lives. They didn't realize what it would cost them. Who could? In any aspect, right? In any aspect. But you have to understand that it could be a sense of life or death in the spiritual sense, okay? I'm actually gonna share my screen. Let's see. Can I share my screen? Let's see. If you can allow me to share my screen really quick. Interesting enough, I have something that I want to share with you guys. And basically, this is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it goes and it relates also within, all right, boom. Right. And we were talking about self-actualization as well. Maslow's hierarchy is something that actually, when I was studying the Holocaust and everything, they brought up Maslow's hierarchy, the psychology of it and everything. We got to understand as well is sometimes we want to keep people around us but that's not where we need to start, right? So let's say we're in the love and belonging. We think our ego's telling us we're in the love and belonging, like, oh, these are my friends, these are the people that I love, da 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 da. Like, I want to keep them around me. But when it comes to your physiological needs, you don't feel safe. For instance, maybe you have anxiety. Even when it comes to shelter, I want you to understand, if you have anxiety, you may not feel comfortable within your own body, right? You might not feel safe within your own temple, your own home, right? So understand that these are the things that need to happen first before you even worry about the friendships, in a sense, right? Because these are things that are taken away from you. You got to understand, even if we're looking at the vibrational standpoint, this is something like, y'all, screenshot this. Understand the levels of consciousness. You got to screenshot this and look at it so you can understand things in the future, right? When it comes to friends and stuff like that, you got to see why is it that you want to be friends with this person as well? Is it bringing you to a place of scarcity? Are you in a, like, you're seeing them as victims? You may be seeing them as victims, like, oh, like, damn, I can't be friends with them. I have to separate from them. But you have to understand that they're not victims, because whatever is for your greatest good will therefore be for the greatest good of the world, will therefore be for the greatest good of them, of those friends, right? Because you can only help them if you've helped yourself. You can only help evolve them if you help yourself. But imagine you trying to help a person drowning when you're drowning yourself. Like, you can't do that. I had to realize that, even in a sense, with my growth, my mentality, I'm someone who loves to talk about it to my family. But the reality is I can't really talk about those things to my family in all aspects, because the growth that I understand, they may not understand. And it'll hurt me, the fact that I'm not able to help them grow. It hurts. Like, damn, I wish I could take this mentality, what I've understood, and put it in your head, in your heart. You could feel safe. You could feel the love that I feel for you. But the reality is not everybody's meant for those things in the time period that you are. So you have to let them go. You have to be connected, not attached to them, so that in the greater sense, they can come back around. For instance, with the Jewish people, if they would have left, if some of them did, right? It's obviously not all of them, but those that, if they would have left to America and they left all their belongings behind, they would have been in America, they would have been alive and had the time to therefore then cultivate the same belongings again, because it's just physical things and you can't be attached to physical beings. And if you're growing spiritually, understand that you still have spiritual ties to these people and can heal and connect with them on the spirit level without even speaking to them. That sounds like trippy and esoteric, but it's like, journal to them. Journal to them. There's things you want to tell people, journal to them. And say, hey, da da da. Things that you would never tell another person, you journal to them. Okay, in the season right now, I want to move so badly, and it feels like a black hole where I live, where I've been stuck. You're not stuck. Energy is always moving. You can never not be on path. God has you on path. Source has you on path. You know what you're doing. If it's not on a conscious level, it's on a subconscious level. You just need to be still enough. And it goes back to knowing where you are, or who you are, right? Because you're telling God, I want to be a millionaire, right? Let's say you go on your phone, on the GPS. What's the first question it asks you? Where are you currently? What's your current location? Do you want to move from your current location? But because there's certain aspects that you don't like about yourself, you told your GPS, nah, I'm not home. Like, nah, I'm 2 miles out. Like, no, I'm already on my way. So what's gonna happen is the GPS is gonna guide you from 2 miles to then your location. So what's happening to you where you are at this very moment, because you didn't accept where you currently were, you're going in circles and you're lost as hell because you gave God the wrong signal. And God's not gonna bless who you think you are, who you're pretending to be. He's gonna bless who you truly are. But now the blessing isn't even in your radar because you gave him the wrong directions, right? So you just need to take that step into yourself. Before you go and do the effort to connect with source, you got to step into yourself. Believe that you're worthy enough to even get to source. Because that was something that was wrong with me, right? I didn't even feel like, oh, why is God going to help me like he hasn't before? I was so negative. So you have to understand that you got to be honest where it is that you're at, and you're never stuck. You just have to accept yourself for where you are, because opportunity is where you are. You don't find opportunity. Opportunity is not over here, there. No, opportunity is where you are. God giving you the things to help you where you are in this moment. in this very moment, in your current location is where your opportunity is. But because you're telling yourself, and your ego is telling yourself that your location is over there, God's giving you those blessings over there, and you think he's not working. But it's because you lied to yourself, so you accidentally lied to him. Right? Does that make sense? So you're never stuck. That's a lie. When your ego is telling you that you are right where you need to be, and we're lit, we in vibe, we're in mode, we're on the way to the millions. That's what it is. Whatever you claim is what you're on your way to. It's just you need these moments to cultivate it and get you there. Okay, we're definitely okay. It's 12. Let me see if there's any questions left. Start the process of forgiving yourself. How do you start the process of forgiving yourself? That's an amazing question. Understand that things are greater than us. It's so much greater than us. I had to understand that I saw my little sister, I saw people in my family, and I had to realize I had to have unconditional love for myself, and protect myself. No one was going to forgive me if I didn't forgive myself. And by holding on to those things, of what I did, I wasn't allowing myself to be the best person that I could be. By not forgiving yourself, you're giving yourself resistance to the greater you. And remember that the things that you got to forgive yourself about, that's not you. So you're forgiving yourself for being a person that you never truly were to begin with. You weren't born sad. You weren't born like, let's say for instance, you weren't born being selfish. You weren't born being a jerk. These are things that, right, like we were talking about in the book, these are things that were added onto you because you had to protect yourself to survive. So understand that you were in survival mode. That's not you. That's your animal instincts. You got to do what you got to do when you're at that survival mode, but you're not there anymore. So that's how you start to forgive yourself, is understanding that those parts, those dark aspects of you, it technically isn't you. These are things that the world caused you to become so that you could survive. What should be a priority for us as young adults? Loving yourself. I think that it's not even a young adults thing, it's you. It all starts with you. When you're an adult in the future, you'll see people that are more evolved than at 15, they're more evolved than 30. You know, as I said, there's some people that are old souls. I think that you need to focus on yourself and your path. If you need to do a fast, do a fast. If you need to cut off all your friends, cut off all your friends. They'll be there later. If you need to be celibate for 2 years, guess what? If I'm celibate for 2 years, there's still going to be men in 2 years. Tell me, yes or no? There's still going to be men out there. Like, these are things that we think that they leave. A lot of these things, they don't leave. So your priority should always be yourself and your self-love, because God may have put the biggest opportunity in front of you and you said no because you didn't think you could do it. You relied on yourself. I think we need to rely more on a power that's bigger than ourselves, and say that I'm divinely guided, and all of us here are as well. You just need to accept it as well. How do you overcome the process of healing over toxic people? Do you think burning bridges with someone is going to damage you? So overcoming the process of healing over toxic people, I actually have a voice memo. Let me think if I could play it. I don't know if it'll play. Can you guys hear that?
If you
Well, anyways, I'm just gonna vocalize what it was.
if you do a screen share,
It's okay, I'll just explain it. Yeah, so I'll just explain it, right? And I asked myself, and it was a shadow work little session that I had. It was in voice memos, and asked myself, are you upset with people that have betrayed you? And you accept people into your life aware of what they're capable of, and you've given your power away. think that it's so important to know yourself. And because when you know yourself, you start to create boundaries where you don't give your power away. You start to understand that these people that are in your life, that they are toxic, that they are either draining your energy, they're feeding off of your energy in one way or another. When you start to evolve as a person, you no longer accept that, right? The Four Agreements talks about you only allow people that are 5%, that have treated you 5% better than yourself into your reality. If they treat you 5% less than the way you treat yourself, then you won't want to be around them. So to overcome the process of healing from toxic people, depending what is that you believe in, everything, what you like to do, you know, however your process is, I like to use sage. So if y'all know what sage is, sage, cool, right? So I'll sage myself and I'll imagine the person in front of me and I'll sage them as well. I send people love that I do not like. I send them love. Why? Because in order for the love to get to them, it has to flow through me. I ask source for the love, it comes through me and it's flowing to them now, right? It's cultivated through me, which causes me to release negative energy for them. Um, it's a process, and you get to see your healing process reflected in who it is that you attract after. You don't always have to rekindle relationships with people because you'll understand what type of energy you have by the new individuals that you attract. And that's what I had to do in a lot of cases. I thought that it was wrong of me before to decide not to speak to a person because they've hurt me and they don't deserve to understand certain things about me anymore. What I had to do was I sought God and source to therefore guide me in my healing. I journaled to the people in my paper and everything. And like I spoke to them in a sense, right? Through my paper or like through my thoughts, just like, you know, this hurt me about this and da 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 da, kind of vented to them in a sense. And then I let that go. I healed on my own. And when people ask you and they like they want to rekindle something and they were toxic, you just have to tell them, you know, I've healed and I'm focusing on my healing. The best thing that I can recommend you is that you heal on your own as I did. And literally, you can journal, you know, I journaled prompts to you, I journaled this, like, and explain that your process to them. Cause some people will be like, oh, you don't want to talk to me, like you have an ego, da da da, or oh, there's that. Like, no, you're protecting yourself. You love yourself enough to understand that you have an abundance mindset. And within abundance, you do not need to rekindle that. I don't think that you have to burn bridges essentially, but you don't need to accept it anymore. You don't accept them into your reality. That sounds like weird, but now you just dead ass don't accept them into your reality. Like, okay, you did this and this. I don't accept that into my reality. Like, you kind of don't exist. It's not like a sense of, oh, you're dead to me, but you understand that certain people have served their purpose. And don't be afraid to block somebody. You block them for some time, later on you apologize. It's the same thing when you go to your mom, like you know you're gonna go out and your mom don't want you to go out, so you go out and then you get in trouble, but you get back and you're like, yeah, I went out, and you tell your mom, you're just like, mom, I'm sorry I did that, sorry, you know, just say sorry after. You block them, you say sorry after. That's just what had to happen. They're damaging you. How much do you want to stay, how long do you want to stay damaged? How long do you want to stay broken? Like, I had to cut everyone off. That's just what it ended up being. Yeah, outwitting the devil is dope as well. And yeah, so those are the main things. And how to really healing from toxic people is not easy because you'll continue to see the reflection in people that come about. And that's the part that hurts the most. And you also need to understand you don't necessarily need to trust all the people that walk in front of you. You need to trust the person who they present themselves to be, and understand that you trust yourself. As you start to trust yourself, it doesn't matter what other people, how they move or anything like that. It's all about who it is that you are within yourself. And understand that when you trust yourself, you're trusting who you select within your reality. You're trusting with who comes into your reality. And you have every right to place boundaries. Understand that you're not rude, you're not mean. I used to genuinely think I was a mean person. And it was because I let people walk all over me and I was a people pleaser. So whenever I said no, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry, but I had like, no, I can't because da da da, I'm sorry. Like, if I could, I would, da 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 da. When in the reality is like, I was being a people pleaser and that was negatively impacting me. Therefore, I was not my highest self to pursue my purpose that's going to help the greater collective, right? It's really that deep. So understand that it's easier to ask forgiveness for how others feel about your decisions, likes and dislikes. Exactly. And if you've forgiven yourself, it doesn't matter. When you create a relationship with yourself, you love yourself, you stop thinking about everybody else. You do. Because you realize that I love myself. And because I love myself, I love my purpose, I love my creator. I'm going to go all in with that. Everything else will fall into place, right? Depending on what you believe in. Seek first the kingdom of God, and the rest will follow. A lot of people, they seek others, individuals, they're seeking the forgiveness, they're seeking a better friendship, a better relationship. But when you seek your connection with source will dissipate everything that does not align with your highest vibration. You don't stay in the lower vibrations. No. You go to your higher vibration with source, and that's where things will start to cultivate, right? They'll start to come into your reality. The toxic people will fade away. Those things that those problems that you have, it fades away because you no longer align with them. You literally become a new person, and that new person does not attract the same things. The people that were toxic in my life, they don't approach me the same no more. They don't know how to approach me. And if they do, I have the awareness that that's not even me anymore. So it's not that I got to heal from those relationships, but I healed myself. Therefore, collaterally, I healed the relationships with them. And that's where it really is. It starts within yourself, because the collateral, you healing yourself, you loving yourself, becomes collateral greatness to others. And yeah, you guys can reach out to me whenever. In any aspect, you reach out to me, hit me up, like hit me up on IG. Josh dropped my Instagram. Thank you, Josh. And exactly, like all these things, seek if you first. And here's another thing, and I'll leave off on this, is if what is given to you outside of God's will, you have to stay outside of God's will in order to maintain it. Okay? What's given to you outside of God's will, you have to stay outside of God's will in order to maintain it. And that's where you have to see as well. Seek yourself. Seek first the kingdom of God, and the rest will follow. Because let's say you do that friendship with that toxic person, it rekindles. But it was from a place of scarcity, right? That place of ego. Ego and scarcity, the words are interchangeable, right? You didn't seek God in the guidance of the situation. Therefore, in order for you to maintain that friendship, you have to stay outside of God's will. Now, if you were within God's will and then cultivating God to them, then you would have been able to maintain the friendship. But we can't think from a place of scarcity. We have to see it from a place of abundance, because when you start to realize everything's meant to be, everything will stay around you. It'll be cultivated. It'll be what it is that you need. You know what you need within yourself, and you know when you're cheating yourself. You know when you're mean to yourself. You know when there's someone that doesn't love you in your life. You feel it. So listen to yourself. That's the best thing that I could say, is listen to yourself. You within yourself, you know more than anyone else does. The advice, these calls, this is just a reflection of you. The words that I'm saying have already been a reflection. They've already been within your reality. It's just now being reflected to you. So what will you accept? Like, ask yourself, what am I accepting? I'm really just a vessel for what you've seen before, what you've heard before, what's been around you. The energy's been in existence, and you have it within you as well. I really do appreciate you guys. The last phrase, Daniel, do you mean that what is received outside of God, what you get outside of God's will, you have to stay outside of God's will in order to keep it? Thank you, Savannah. I really do appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you, Josh, so much. I clearly went over time, but I'm really thankful that I've got to speak with all of you guys, and the breakthroughs, anything that you've had, please do share with me on Instagram. My Instagram is the Godmother33. Share it with me. I love to talk more and see what it is that we can become. And I really do appreciate you guys for sharing energy with me, because these are the things that fuel me, is understanding that we're all helping one another grow. And the things that I'm telling you, as I tell you and I speak to you, I'm reminding myself. So I really do appreciate you guys, and just know that everything gets better. You just need to understand that you have the answers. You know what you're doing. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Your heart knows, your heart's telling you. I'm gonna pass it back to Josh. Josh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. And yeah. And yes, it's being recording as we speak.
Wow. Yo. Oh, I got like 4 pages. Yeah, look, guys, that was a blessing. Absolute blessing, absolute honor. I'm so thankful for you, Yalicia. Guys, she was really tapped in. She was really channeling. That last one hit. I know it hit for everybody. If you guys asking about toxic people, toxic relationship, toxic environment, toxic habits, she just told you right now, in order to keep what's given to you outside of God's will, you have to stay outside of God's will. So why would you hold on to things if they're literally going to keep you from your blessings? Oh, I'm emotional right now. I'm in my feels. Thank you so much, Yalicia. I appreciate you guys so much. And remember, you cannot beat the odds if you don't go against them. You guys have a great, beautiful, blessed weekend, and I'll see you guys on the